Only 33% of millennials owned a home by age 30. Gen X managed 42% at the same age, and boomers hit 48%. That's not a small gap. That's an entire generation running the same race on a track that quietly changed shape underneath of them. If you're a millennial, or honestly anyone who feels stuck, I want to break down what's actually causing that feeling and give you a system, not a magic trick, to do something about it. I'm Phil, and today we're getting into the real reason millennials feel stuck, or the real reason you feel stuck, and what you can actually do about it. So here's a question worth asking. If it's not about willpower or habits, what's actually keeping us stuck? Is it inflation or interest rates or student debt? Those are real, and I'm not dismissing them, but they're the symptoms, not the disease. That's half the story. You're stuck because you're still measuring your life against a 1950s blueprint where they told you to get a degree and then a house, a 40-year career, and then retire at 65. In a world that quietly deleted that blueprint decades ago. And underneath that mismatch is something worth naming directly. It's blame. Blaming the system, blaming billionaires, blaming the government. It's the same trap as learned helplessness, just wearing a more sophisticated disguise. And it feels like insight, but it functions like an excuse. And it does something worse than just excuse you. It quietly hands away your power. Every time you point at something you can't control, you're the one deciding. It gets to determine your outcome. The billionaires didn't take away your ability to automate $25 of saving from your paycheck. The government didn't take away your ability to figure out what your career is worth. Blaming feels like clarity, but what it actually does is make the parts of your life that you can't touch bigger and the parts that you can touch smaller until you convince yourself there's nothing left to work with, but there is. And that's what today is about. So if you're like me growing up, we were handed a specific blueprint to go to school and then land a corporate job, maybe marry someone and start a family, purchase a single family home on a 30-year mortgage, and climb a predictable ladder to that gold watch retirement. And for me, it worked out very similar. In 2004, my boss encouraged us to leave our low rent apartment and buy our first home. It wasn't even what I wanted to do at the time, but we followed the blueprint anyway. What we didn't find out until later is the bank had sold us a ninja loan. No income, no job, no assets verified. They dressed it up to look like a normal 30-year fixed mortgage. But for a while it worked out, and then it didn't. It took years, and it only came together because we made it work, not because the formula did what it promised. Around that same time, something bigger was happening in the world around us. Bigger investors started buying up houses like stocks, and home prices stopped matching what people actually earned in their own town. Companies stopped rewarding loyalty. Layoffs happened no matter how long you've been at a job, but nobody updated how we think of any of it. So we measure ourselves against a broken yardstick. And when we can't hit milestones that were never actually available to us the way that they were to our parents, we assume that it's a personal failure instead of a mismatch. That's the same trap that makes any of us feel like something's wrong with us, when in reality, it's just that the goalposts got moved. So here's what happens next psychologically. If you feel behind on big milestones, your brain looks for a consolation prize. It says, if I can't afford a down payment on this in this city, I might as well enjoy my life right now. But the lifestyle scales up. Maybe you take on a premium lease, and then you get 5 streaming subscriptions, and you convince yourself that some convenience deliveries are worth it, until your income, even if it's higher than it's ever been, is fully consumed by your own baseline costs of living. Well over 60% of millennials report living paycheck to paycheck right now. And that number does not discriminate by income. There's plenty of 6-figure earners who are on that list too. That leaves you with zero margin. You can't leave a bad job. You can't take a calculated risk. You can't pivot because your lifestyle demands almost everything just to stay afloat. You're not stuck because you lack money. You're stuck because you lack margin. And margin is one thing that you will see as a consistent theme on this channel. So here's a system of 4 tools that actually rebuild the power that blame just talked you out of. None of these are new tricks. They're the same 4 places you still have real control no matter what the economy is like, no matter what the billionaires or the government is doing. First, calculate your real rate. Before you decide any hour of your time is worth what the paycheck stub or the app payout screen says it's worth, subtract what it's actually costing you. That might be gas and wear and tear, of course taxes, and what I like to call fog cost, which is the physical and mental toll that follows you the next day. What's left, divide that by the hours you actually put in and that's your real rate. That number is yours. Nobody in Washington or on a corporate board can inflate or deflate it because it's just math. And the math doesn't care who's in charge of anything else. Most people never run this number. They just look at the paycheck and assume that that's the money that they made. But if you haven't done that, run that this week. Second, know what's a load-bearing versus a decorative skill. A load-bearing skill is one your company or your own business would genuinely struggle without. Take it away and something breaks. A decorative skill looks good on a resume, but nothing structural actually depends on it. Most of us spend our extra hours building decorative skills because we feel productive in the moment. So look at your own job today and ask yourself an honest question. What's the one certification, tool, or piece of institutional knowledge that almost nobody else at your team has, but the business can't run without? That's worth more of your evenings than a dozen side gigs combined. And deciding how you build your professional value is entirely up to you, regardless of what the headlines say about the economy. And if you realize your current employer won't pay you what you're worth, well, it might be time for you to consider finding one who does. Third, shrink your target. If the milestone in front of you is a full down payment or a fully funded retirement account, the number is so large it convinces your brain the whole project might be impossible before you even start. So don't aim at that number. Aim at the smallest possible proof that a system works. Maybe it's $25 automated the day you get paid. Not because $25 changes your life, but because proving to yourself that a system can run without you white-knuckling it every single month is what actually changes your life. You're back in control the moment the target is small enough that you can't talk yourself out of hitting it. Fourth, run an analog protocol. This one's about where you spend your attention, which might be the last truly private territory you have left. Audit what you follow and mute anything that quietly convinces you that everyone else is further ahead than you. Automate the decisions you've already made, retirement contributions, savings transfers, things like that, so they can run in the background the same way pensions used to run quietly for our parents. Then add friction back into the decisions that are actually impulsive. Delete the saved credit card info and make yourself walk across the room for your wallet. None of that requires the economy to cooperate with you. It only requires you to decide. Run those four in sequence, and margin is what shows up on the other end. Not a fifth trick, just what happens when the first four actually run. And here's the actual payoff. Every single one of these is something you control completely, no matter what anyone else says or does. That's the whole point. Blame only feels powerful. These four actually are powerful because they're yours. The economy is genuinely complex and the system does have real challenges in it. That's true, and I'm not telling you to pretend otherwise, but naming that truth isn't the same as using it as a reason to give up. That's the whole difference between this channel and noise everywhere else. You don't need a perfect economy. You need good systems, boring enough to survive your own impulses. If any of this has helped you see your own situation more clearly, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments which one of these four systems I mentioned today you're starting with. And I'll see you in the next one.